Hey, what's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the show. It's Guys on Sports, and we're here with another rip-roaring and rocking episode. So we're gearing up. We got guys in pads banging into each other. It's feeling like football's in the air. We're going to be covering the AFC today, and we're doing tier rankings for our quarterbacks in each divisions. Each one of these beautiful-looking young men here have a division, and they're going to run down their tier ranking for each one. What's going on, guys? How you doing?
This is an exciting time of year. You're starting to see camps are in session.
Browns are 500.
Yeah. No, listen.
500.
The Browns' outlook is as bright as this jersey right now.
Yeah.
It is bright orange. Yeah. Anything's possible.
Anything.
We got
anybody can start.
2 new quarterbacks.
4.
We got 2 new false functional saviors on our team.
You have 4 new quarterbacks. 4 new quarterbacks.
No, we have only 3 because one played with us before.
But he's new this year.
Yeah.
Right?
If you haven't seen it, it's new to you, right?
That's right.
Yeah.
It's
a good time of year, man.
Sorry, all right.
No, I'm saying it's a good time of year.
Yeah, it's a good time of year. How are you feeling about your
the Bears?
About as optimistic as it was last year. Last year was a total letdown.
Yeah.
This year, I feel better. I feel like year 2 with this offensive guru at the head of our team. I think he's going to lead Caleb to the promised land. I think this is our year.
Is this his first head coaching assignment, right?
Ben Johnson?
Yeah. Or has he been a head coach before?
No, I think it's his first.
Yeah, that's because you're right. He's like, I'm excited, honestly, for the Bears. I think they look like they've got a good future. I hate when you are so sure that a guy can be a head coach and then he craps the bed.
Give us an example.
Yeah. Oh, my God. I'm trying to think. There's
Kevin Stefanski?
No, because Kevin Stefanski, he's made it to playoffs twice, coach of the year twice. I mean, for the Browns,
that's true.
They're building a statue out there for him. You kidding me?
That's true. He didn't trade away Baker, did he?
No, he didn't.
We've had a lot of coaches that were supposed to be from the tree of Belichick that
Pete
were
Carroll?
supposed to be good. Yeah, we didn't get him.
You guys didn't have Pete Carroll?
No.
We did at one point.
Romeo Cornell.
We did at one point have Nick Saban and Bill Belichick on our team and sucked.
You guys made it to the playoffs with Belichick.
We did, but not. He was an assistant coach on a staff with Nick Saban. We had
you're saying
some of the greatest coaches of all time.
Who was the head coach at that point?
Was it Romeo? No, it wasn't Romeo.
Belichick was our head coach.
No,
Yeah,
this
was
is.
your
You're right. Belichick was a head coach, and Saban was our defensive coordinator.
I said.
And Kyle Shanahan.
Because they fired him right before they moved.
Yeah.
I think we took Butch Davis
Good job.
because he was high. Ooh, Miami, Butch Davis.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
So first coach, and he tanked. That whole team was trash. Being an expansion team. Anyway, so back to fantasy football.
All right, so I'll get the party started. We'll go with the AFC East.
Yeah.
And we're just throwing these guys out there. The AFC East is interesting, I think, because there's a little bit of everything when you look at these quarterbacks. So I'll start with Tua, right? I think a lot of this you got to factor into injury stuff. I think he last year he looked good when he played. The year before he avoided the concussions a little bit. I think if he stays healthy, he's going to produce, even though he doesn't wow you when you watch him play. And a healthy Tua, I'm going to put a healthy Tua at the B tier. He averaged in the games he played last year 16.5 fantasy points per game. I think as long as he's on the field, he'll produce, and you're guaranteed that they're going to throw the ball around. So I like Tua, the B tier. He doesn't offer much in the rushing game, but I just think that offense is high octane. So I'm comfortable with him there. Next, I'm going to go with Justin Fields, the new guy in town for the Jets. And surprisingly, with Justin Fields, I'm going to go A tier. Wow. And here's why. Justin Fields last year, if you look at his averages at the end of the season per game and his point totals, they're not impressive, but he got accredited with appearances late in the season where he scored less than a fantasy point because he just came in the game on packages. If you take the 6 games that he started, he's just under 19 points a game. And if you stack that up against the rest of the league, he's in the top 8. A full season, I think the offense is he has better talent around him than he did in Pittsburgh. Remains to be seen how the offense is going to look under, now I forget his name. Who's the Jets coach again? What's his name?
We should know this.
Don't know.
The defensive coordinator from the Lions last year. I just can't remember his name.
That
I
doesn't
still don't know.
That doesn't help me because I'm blanking.
So,
I'm totally blanking.
Hey, spam the comments. Coach's name. Somebody look it up. But, I just don't know what kind of system. Are they going to really just try to run the ball? I don't know. But I think he has better talent around him. I think he'll produce at that level. If he can average you 18, 19 points a game, that's going to be pretty good. You're going to have a nice floor. You're going to have some big, high 20, 30-point games from him. So I like him there. The guy I'm really torn on in this division is Drake May. Drake May, rookie year last year. You've seen flashes, 13.6 points per game. It's not great. And I don't know that we have a clear upgrade as far as his weapons go. I know we got names. We talked about this earlier in the offseason. We don't know how it's going to shake out. We don't know if there's going to be a real producer on that offense. And with your boy coming into town, I'm so bad with names when I'm like in the middle. But they're going to run the ball a lot. They want to ball. What's his name?
Travion Henderson.
No, the coach. I can't remember the coach's name.
Oh, Vrabel.
Mike Vrabel. There you go.
And the other coach is Aaron Glenn.
Stop picking teams with new coaches.
And then Jets are Aaron Glenn.
Aaron Glenn. He looked it up. There you go. Aaron Glenn. Mike Vrabel. We know the kind of game he likes to play. They're going to run the ball. They're going to try to play ball possession, all that jazz. How much does he get to throw the ball, especially early in his career here? I don't know. So I have him in the C tier. And Josh Allen, I mean, this is the layup here. He's S tier. I almost said it. S tier. I mean, is there anything really to say about Josh Allen besides it's him or Lamar Jackson every year as QB1? So that's it. S tier for Josh Allen, C tier for Drake May, B tier for Tua, and A tier for Justin Fields.
Very generous tiering there.
Think so?
I actually kind of agree, though, with Justin Fields. I think he's been a little bit understated. And I think he is a quarterback that thank you. He is a quarterback that can rush for 1,000 yards.
Well, he was top 10 in fantasy football, I believe, 2 seasons in Chicago.
Well, I think a couple years ago, coming off that year, you had him in your top 5 QBs based on the combination of running.
Yeah. But like I said, if you go points per game basis, last season he winds up as QB7.
He has Garrett Wilson. He has Garrett Wilson.
Well, he knows, yeah. I mean, he had some great seasons a great season.
I'm taking the optimistic slant on Justin Fields this year, right? Drake May, I'm taking the pessimistic one. So they could go either way, but that's just how I see it.
I think that's fair because I think that Diggs' tour is over before it even starts here in New England too. So New England's back to square one with their pass catchers,
which is sad that he didn't make the cut or might not make the cut, because I actually thought Diggs, knowing that he's advancing and kind of figuring himself out being a slot receiver, I thought it was going to be pretty good for Drake May. And Diggs still has talent. In my book, I don't think he's somebody who's declined all the way yet.
Yeah, I think the question mark was more the injury, right?
Injury, and then the
boat.
Personal. Yeah, the boat.
The boat, I mean.
Do we know what the pink?
We don't. It looks like Pepto-Bismol to me, Mark.
Yeah, passing Pepto-Bismol out to five girls on a yacht.
Everybody got tummy aches,
often, man. They got tummy aches. Maybe it was that time of the month, and he was trying to help.
Well, they could just had some jerk chicken.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Maybe it was crushed up Midol. Maybe it was that time of the month. Maybe they were all crampy.
I don't think it was crushed up.
No, it wasn't crushed.
They looked like tablets. Did you even see the video?
I
Bro
did.
didn't even watch the video.
I did. It looks like powder to me. They even called it a pink powder is what they called it.
No, we should pull it up live. All right, Jay, you want to go? Who you got?
Well, on Drake,
2 in the pink.
I just worry Drake will probably forever be in that C tier with that coach, because he's going to want to find that running back and then just run.
Well,
he
the
found
only
Derrick Henry, and that's what he's going to do in New England.
Only thing that, because I agree with you, but Henderson is not Derrick Henry. He's not that type of back. So, like, to me, I think it's possible you
Hot
might
take.
hot take. I think you might see Drake May, who does have some speed. He's not a running quarterback, but I do think you might see him step up a little bit and have to run some because they don't have many receivers. And Henderson is now Stevenson is maybe built more like a Derrick Henry. So.
I think New England. I think they phoned it in when they sent the old Tennessee running back to Dallas. That's who they should have started this year.
Who, Pollard?
No, the quarterback.
Oh, you said running back just now.
Oh, did I? Yeah. No, the running back. Yeah,
Said it again.
The quarterback, the old Tennessee quarterback that they sent to Dallas. What was his name?
Ryan Tannehill?
No.
Warren Moon?
No, not Milrow, but sounds like Milrow.
Levitt? Will Levitt?
Milton?
Milton, Joe Milton.
Joe Milton.
Oh, I tell you what, I like Joe Milton.
So
I
do
think
I.
he's got some talent.
He was Michigan, right?
No, Joe Milton was Tennessee.
No, originally.
Yes.
Oh, I don't
Yes,
know.
originally he was Michigan and then transferred to
Ramistan on the
Tennessee.
Ramistan. All right, your turn.
I have the AFC North. I'll go with Lamar Jackson.
Who's that?
He's a good guy, I guess. When you gotta go sometimes. He's S tier.
He could have used some of those Peptos.
Yeah. He's only 28 too.
Yeah.
Which is, I mean, he's been in the league forever and he's just outstanding.
Scratching the surface.
Young, black, and rich is what they say.
Yeah.
So he was number one
Yeah.
last year in fantasy. 41 touchdowns, 4 picks.
That's crazy.
That's crazy.
Well, especially
nuts.
in like it's crazy to look when you start actually looking at the number of touchdowns.
But what about the playoffs?
No, fantasy's over by then.
Fantasy. He only had one game under 15 points, but he had 4 over 30. So the type of guy that can just like win the week for you by himself.
That's right.
Plus, he had 900 yards rushing and 4 touchdowns there. He did have 8 fumbles, which is I find hilarious. He had double the fumbles than he did even as a passer. And then he's been healthy the last couple years. He had 2021 was his worst year. He had some injuries there, threw like 11 picks, but he still did like 17 touchdowns. He's got Hopkins as a target, Flowers, who's over 1,000 yards last year. Mark Andrews, his tight end, had 11 touchdown catches. So I think he's got the weapons on offense. The defense that's going to get the turnovers, to give him the ball, to give him the chance. It's Lamar Jackson. To me, it's an S tier. He's Hall of Famer.
S for slam dunk.
I mean, it's kind of crazy that like people were unsure about drafting him, and now we all believe he's a Hall of Famer, which is insane to me.
And don't sleep on Zay Flowers this year.
Well, and I think Isaiah Likely is another. Like I think they have the best 2 tight ends.
Their tight ends.
And they got Derrick Henry as a running back. So you have to respect the run.
Yeah.
So he's got the whole package on that team.
Respect the runs.
Yeah, that's you probably could use some of that Pepto that Diggs was.
I just made that joke, Rocky.
Let him run in here.
I just made the joke.
Phil, I try not to listen to you, and I apologize.
I just
Listen,
made the joke.
I apologize to our listeners.
I'm hosting the show. You should listen.
I apologize. I don't listen often to Phil.
Is there an echo in here?
I don't listen
echo?
often to Phil. I apologize. Yeah. I see the lips moving. But
Okay.
I'm going to go with the beloved Browns next.
Beloved.
the Browns.
We started 40 different quarterbacks since we've been back.
Nice.
40.
Yeah.
And none have been good.
So
You mean since the NFL let you
No,
back
don't you
in
dare speak ill of
1999?
Derek Anderson.
we have
that
3
one year,
guys on
one
the
magical
roster
year.
that'll probably maybe make a start.
Yeah.
Because Flacco won't count because he already been on the team. Flacco right now is projected to be from one account.
I heard Pickett.
Then Pickett,
You okay?
yeah,
Okay.
and then
Do you need the Heimlich?
now they're talking about Shador might not make the team.
Yeah.
because you're gonna carry technically 5 QBs on the roster.
They already gave him a contract, though, right?
I know.
Okay.
Yeah.
But I'm just saying it's a total mess of even the media of Cleveland is just throwing stuff out to try to think that they have the scoop, and no one knows a single thing. Because Shador has looked great when he's with the first and second team, but doesn't have the reps, so he's with the third team, and he's gonna not be as good if you're passing to
Okay, I get what you're saying.
Guys that aren't even being practice squad guys.
Yeah, but he's also playing against practice squad guys?
Yeah.
In theory.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you're saying A tier for Cleveland then is what I'm hearing.
I mean, if you combined all the letters together,
Flacco was 34th in fantasy last year.
That was good.
And he's the only guy that had Pickett was 51st.
It's better. It's better than Pickett.
Out of, if you double it.
All right, so
64.
but
I'd say you got to pick the guy you think's going to start.
well, and any of those would probably be better than the quarterback
That was
play we had last year.
Flacco could be D, and everybody else is F until you figure out what you're going to get. And then
F for figure it out.
based on, yes, that's what I was going with.
Cool.
Of course I was. And their defense is going to be improved, so hopefully that'll give their quarterbacks more field position to be
There you
able
go.
to do some things with the
Sound
ball.
it out. Sound it out. Work it out.
I hate these guys. Quit the show. Bring back that.
Well, that's
that
happened
guy.
a couple times before.
Where's Delano at? But the defense is going to be much better. That's going to help him out. Receivers, Cedric Tillman, this is going to be his make or break year. I feel he's either got to show he can be a number 2. I don't think he's ever going to be a number 1 receiver, big stats, but he can be a number 2. Judy, 1,200 yards, 4 touchdowns. But one game he did get better after he got traded to them, and then he had that huge, massive game
Against Denver, yeah.
Njoku hopefully has a bounce back year. He only had 500 yards last year. 2 rookie running backs, so that's going to be a weird dynamic.
Yeah.
So I just don't have a lot of hope for any Browns quarterback to have any fantasy points. Because even if they do decide on a great quarterback, I would just run the ball with those 2 guys. And if it's a rookie, he's going to be, maybe Njoku's numbers will go up, being the tight end, have a little dump offs to the tight end, to the running backs. I just don't see any Browns quarterback being worthy of any high.
I think the best you could hope for probably is Flacco starting if you have skill position players.
Yeah, I mean, Flacco
I wouldn't start any of them, but
Flacco did amazing for, why am I blanking on the receiver? Amari Cooper and for Njoku the year that he was there in that 6-game stretch. It's funny because I'm trying to be as unbiased of a Browns fan as I can be. And I already went on record saying I think they're probably closer to, if everything falls right, 6 wins. So I don't think it's going to be a banner year, but I do think that Flacco maybe gives us the best shot to score points. Now, he probably gives the opposing defense the best shot to score points too. But
Here's the thing: is I think Cleveland's best scenario is, who gives a hell about putting some points on the board? This isn't your year. You're rebuilding.
and you got 2 first-round picks, so
Pick your quarterback and stick with them.
Yeah.
Get them in there. Get them wet behind the ears. Let him tough this season out, and then see what he's made of next year, and then you decide next year whether or not you stick with the guy.
Yeah.
I think they have to make a decision between either Gabriel or Shador.
I think you only can make a decision if you play them both in games. Like I don't know, because I don't think right now practice shows me nothing. It just shows me nothing. I've got to see how they react against real pressure in an NFL game.
Shador's only the second person in NFL history to be a perfect 15 of 15 in
Yes.
practices,
Well, to
aside
get
from
us back
Tom
on-
Brady.
fantasy purposes, I'd say you stay away from all of them.
Yes.
And if you have Jerry Jeudy on your team for Dynasty or something, then you're waiting for what? A Flacco start? Like, I'm not starting him with Dylan Gabriel, right? So Flacco maybe. I don't know about Pickett.
But if you're going Flacco, would you bring back Cooper? Because he's still free agent, I'm pretty sure.
No, I would.
At least they had rapport.
Yeah, but they're not going to commit to a receiver based on Flacco, who might start 2 games.
Right. And the reality is Jerry Jeudy, he looked better with Winston, but he looked pretty damn good, or at least very consistent most of the year, no matter who the quarterback was.
Yeah.
I think Jeudy actually showed me something, and I didn't know what to think in that trade. But he showed me that he has the skill to be a number 1 receiver. He has to be put in the right positions. He's probably somebody who's going to have yards after catch, but I was impressed last year with them.
One thing is consistent is that we talk entirely too much about the Browns every single week. Every single week we talk way too long about the Browns.
But it's America's team. I mean, it's America's team.
You guys should just do a Brown podcast.
You should do a Brown podcast.
Or
I
just
told
turn
Mark
this
that over
into
the
a
weekend.
Browns podcast like we're trying to do.
Apparently.
I don't want any parts.
I will wave the white flag.
Next, 2 more guys, right?
Rudolph,
Who's that?
the Steelers' potential quarterback,
Guy that started 10 games.
is a D tier.
Gotcha.
He just sucks.
Yeah.
He's 29. He is what he is. This is where he is. He's not going to magically jump up at any level being 29 years old. He's got no upside.
Get closer to the mic.
He didn't play much last year. 1,500 yards, 6 touchdowns, 6 picks. That's just who he is.
He's Russell. To me, he's Russell Wilson. What Russell showed last year in Pittsburgh.
That's fair.
Now, where do you have Aaron Rodgers if Pittsburgh signs Aaron Rodgers?
Rodgers finished 16th last year in fantasy, which kind of surprised me that he was even that high. But he did have, because he only had 1 over 30-point game and 7 under 15. So that's not a great outlook.
But a dysfunctional offense, I felt like last year,
And the backup, though, Will Howard.
Yeah.
If they don't sign Rodgers, I could see Will Howard starting midseason. So that's going to hurt Rudolph even more. Howard would probably turn into a C at this point, if that deep into the season. They do have at least DK. He had a down year, but problem is people are going to focus on DK. In a down year, 1,000 yards, 5 touchdowns.
He's about to have a downer year, too.
And that's the problem. Like, he's going to be picked on by the number 1 DBs.
But who's the other wide receiver they drafted last year?
Calvin Austin.
Yeah, he had
there was
500
another
for
guy,
4 touchdowns.
Rome. Gosh, it'll come back to me.
Roman Wilson.
Yeah, and I think Roman Wilson is going to be a surprising fantasy player.
He's a great late round pickup.
He kind of
all
reminds
redrafts.
me of a faster Juju in that role. He can, really close to the line, grabs everything that's thrown to him, and he can kind of score.
He was injured all last season, he's got a lot to prove. But he is a great late round flyer.
Yeah, he's a flyer. Yep.
And his running backs aren't going to help him much. They drafted a guy out of Iowa in the 3rd round that could be potential, but losing a number 1 running back to the Chargers when they signed him away, I think that's going to hurt him. It's just going to be a dysfunctional team. I think this is going to be the Steelers' worst season in quite a while.
So do you think this is a year they don't finish
I don't
above?
think they make the playoffs. Not with
Do they finish above 500?
no.
This will be Mike Tomlin's first, right?
Just did this last week.
You know what I?
Yeah, but I wanted him to commit again. Yeah.
No, I didn't have you.
I had him. Yeah, I had
you have him at?
him missing. I think I had him at 8 and 9.
8 and 9.
Yeah, 8 and 9.
Yeah,
Really going on.
I concur. So lastly is the second best in the division, but he's an S tier, is Joe Burrow. And I think what will help him this year, the defense is even worse than last year, especially with Henderson maybe gone. And they're going to be playing from behind, so they're going to be slinging the ball. He's got great receivers. He's got mediocre Chase Brown. He did have 7 touchdowns, but he only had 1 week over 100 yards. Like I said, the defense is lacking. They lost a defensive coordinator. Their backup is Jake Browning. No attempts last year at all. He's been healthy the last 2 years. I think he's pretty much a home run. Only 1 game under 10 points. He's going to be a standard 25 points a game type of guy. He's going to not mess up. He's going to get you the wins that you should have, and hopefully explode for the wins that you need, because he's just a stud.
Yeah.
He's a stud of a guy.
He is. Joe Burrow definitely finishes top 3 this year in fantasy quarterback
If he
production.
stays healthy. Yeah, if he stays healthy, you're right.
Yeah, it's going to be with the potential to throw the most touchdowns this year, because like you said, they are going to be playing from behind a bunch.
Yep.
He's got the best wide receiving core, 1-2 punch in the NFL. Arguably, but I would rate Jamar Chase and T. Higgins as the number 1 overall duo in the NFL.
Well, and people are sleeping a little bit on Jermaine Burton, who had a terrible year last year, looked like a rookie and looked like a head case, but every report coming out right now is that he spent a lot of time in the offseason with Chase and Higgins and Burrows, that they're on the same page and he's showing signs of maturing. And when he came out, I was pretty high on him.
There's a lot of expectation, and they have they have Mike Gesicki, who is a veteran tight end, and
He's a
his
good receiving tight
second
end.
year in this offense should produce a lot more too.
Yeah, so he led the league in touchdowns, and he led the league in passing.
Yep.
Yeah.
So,
How many
point
touchdowns
well
did he have
taken.
last year?
43.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which is, I mean, again,
I was gonna
it's a
say,
crazy number.
He rushed for 2. So
I think 50 is attainable for him.
45 total.
Which when was the last quarterback that hit 50? Was it
Rodgers?
I mean, he matched.
It may have been
Lamar in
Rodgers
total
or Brady.
touchdowns.
Gosh.
Oh, it might have been Brady actually.
So I mean, he was the third best quarterback last year,
Yes.
essentially. And then he had the best receiver,
Mm-hmm.
and they had the best defensive player, and they still couldn't win. And he put up those stats just because when you're playing from behind, and he's in a tough division. You got not tough with, of course.
You got the Browns.
being there, but I'm saying
Browns,
when you're playing the
Steelers.
Steelers, they're always going to be
Well,
good.
the Browns,
Yeah.
you guys play each other tough.
Yeah,
So-
I mean,
The Ravens is a shootout. So you're going to get a lot of fantasy points when you play the Ravens.
And he's currently going off the board as the 4th or 5th quarterback off the board behind Allen, Lamar,
Hurts.
Daniels, and Hurts.
Yeah, and I just hate seeing him waste his. I hate to say it, but I feel like in some ways he's wasting his career in Cincinnati. They do not want to spend money. I've never seen a cheaper franchise. You can say anything you want to say about teams like Chicago and the Browns. At least they spend money.
Yeah.
I mean, it might be dysfunctional, but they'll spend money. They are having trouble signing their number 1 draft pick, who's a defensive player they desperately need because they undercut him in price.
Well, they're broke.
Yeah, and then sell the team.
I think the Giants could immediately turn their franchise around by bringing in another franchise quarterback like Joe Burrow.
Yeah.
No, but I mean, like instantly goes from like.
No, can you
like-
imagine him
like
and
I think
Malik
anywhere.
Neighbors?
shit poor to
Anywhere he goes, I think.
top of the league?
Yeah.
Especially with that young wide
All
receiver
right.
core.
Well, what do you got for us, Mark?
So I got what many would refer to as the trashiest division in all of football, which is the AFC South. AFC South, the only thing they're really good for is fantasy football production because it's such a terrible division that they're usually beating one another up with a lot of fantasy points and playing from behind when they play true competition. This is a league that despite starting with the letter S, lacks an S-tier quarterback. But I want to start off with the newest addition to this division, and that's Cam Ward. So he goes to Tennessee. So he goes to a team that vacates 530-ish attempts a year, around 3,600 air yards, and he's been shown to be mobile in college, so I think there's room here for him to have a pretty decent season. I think he's going to get, I think he'll vulture a couple of goal line touchdown runs because Tony Pollard and Tyjae Spears aren't the largest guys, and I do think that he is going to be slinging the rock a lot. And they've got a pretty decent wide receiver core. They have Calvin Ridley. They have Tyler Lockett. He did rank Treylon Burks as one of his top 5 wide receivers in the NFL.
Wisely.
And I think that was a guy, what that showed me is here's a guy that's ready to take the reins of a team and prove himself. So I have him as a tier C. So I have him as, it's going to be an average year. But, I don't think we should have such high expectations for him coming out to a team like Tennessee that really didn't show much last year, and he really is going to have to figure this offense out, figure out what they have, get a year under his belt, get decent draft picks next year, build around them. I think next year it goes up from here, but for now he's a C. I think the team that's probably in the worst position is Indianapolis because I think that they, despite having playmakers abound, Pittman, Downs, Pierce, they brought in Ty Warren, they have Jonathan Taylor, they have all the recipe for success when it comes to offensive playmakers. But truly, what is their identity at quarterback? And we don't know that yet. We don't know if Anthony Richardson, who's been A, injury prone, who's B, just shown lack of enthusiasm, pulled himself out of a game. And then when he does play, aside from the rushing yards, the rushing touchdowns, was pretty inaccurate downfield. I gave him a rating of F, which, I jokingly said before the show that would stand for, fudge, I waited too long on a quarterback. If you're getting an Indianapolis quarterback as your first quarterback in your drafts, then you have done screwed the pooch. You may as well have just written that off to your tax refund because you donated. It doesn't get much better with Daniel Jones. I think it does slightly get better because I do like Daniel Jones's time in New York. I think it proved to be telling. I think at times he was very capable. He's very mobile. He's got the big arm. And with playmakers, I think Daniel Jones could produce at the D level with a ceiling of, say, mid-C tier. Because Daniel Jones, I think, does have the experience to possibly lead this team to some fantasy production. Next, I will go with a guy that I have stated many times on the show that I cannot stand, and I think he is a mediocre quarterback at best. But because he plays on a team that is going to be playing from behind the entire season, he's going to reap the benefits at a B tier, and that's Trevor Lawrence. He's got Brian Thomas Jr., who is already proving to be one of the better receivers in the league. They brought in Travis Hunter, who's going to be his down-the-field threat. They brought in Diami Brown from Washington, who is a down-the-field threat. That tells me that they're looking to push the ball down the field because they know that they're going to be playing from behind. And aside from that, they have some pass-catching backs. They have Brenton Strange that returns. They let go of Evan Ingram. They let him go to Denver. I think Denver, right?
He played with Denver last year, yeah. No, he played. No. You're right. Yes,
yeah, he was in Jacksonville,
Denver,
right? And
yeah.
he's with Denver now. Yeah, because Noah Fant went back to Seattle. Yeah. So I think because of the recipe here, I think the playmakers, the fact they're going to be playing from behind, and they're probably the third best team in this division, I think Trevor Lawrence will produce at that B tier. But don't count on him as your quarterback one. Invest in him as your quarterback two, maybe get him a little bit higher in the quarterback two range, but do not invest in him as your quarterback one. And that leaves my only other quarterback in the league, in the division, CJ Stroud. I don't think he's an S-tier quarterback. In fact, I know he's not an S-tier quarterback, and I really don't even think he's an A-tier quarterback. But I do think he is the better of the B-tier quarterbacks in the league and definitely in this division. I do have him ranked slightly ahead of Trevor Lawrence. They have Nico Collins. Unfortunately, is out for the season, but they brought in the rookie Higgins, I believe, from Iowa State. They brought in another rookie, I think Jalen Noel, who might be a factor. Joe Mixon has always been a dynamic dual threat for them. Dalton Schultz wasn't involved much last year, but hopefully he can get off the schneid, get back into tight end 2 range or tight end 2 talk. And because of this, I think CJ Stroud does have the makings of somewhere in the vicinity of 30 touchdowns. He'll probably run a couple in. And again, here's a team that's going to be playing. They're not going to blow anybody out of games, so they're going to be in the game. So passing is definitely going to be in the script for these guys every game for all 4 quarters. So because of that, I like CJ Stroud, B tier.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with the CJ Stroud stuff. The numbers last year, not great.
No. Not
20
great.
and 12. That's on par with Tua, who missed a bunch of time.
Yep.
Jalen Hurts, who also had 18 and 5. Yeah. Not overrated. Just, I think CJ Stroud.
But also 18 rushing touchdowns.
Going into last year, and I'll bang the table again, I told you he was overrated.
Yep.
And he finishes at 18 when people were projecting for top 5. I don't expect a big bounce back. I think he'll play better this season, but I don't know. I just don't know what that offense is going to be this year. He was a lot there. That was good.
He was the most.
I like how he got through that.
He was the most consistently overdrafted quarterback in last year's drafts was CJ Stroud.
Yeah, I mean, coming off his rookie season, it looked like if he could take a step. I think it was most people were taking that pick, hoping that he would take a step forward, and he didn't. He took a step back, but I think Houston took a step back.
Well, we
as
also
a team.
said, and we banged the table for this too. We also said it would be very hard for him to replicate those rookie season numbers because I think he had 30 some touchdowns, right? And he didn't.
It was a little crazy.
He didn't throw his first interception until like week 12 or something insane like that, if I remember correctly.
Yep. I will point out.
This is exactly what we're telling you about Jaden Daniels this year. We're telling you he's not going to replicate those rookie year numbers either.
I don't think so.
Through the air or on the ground.
The Titans, they attempted like almost 600 passes last year, so they're gonna have to throw the ball. So I think there's room there if he can be better than the likes of Mason Rudolph and Will Levis, that you can actually have
a Ryan Tannehill like your
quarterback you could start maybe.
Tannehill had a couple of fair seasons in Tennessee.
Yeah. Well, and I think Cam, I mean, I've been impressed with absolutely everything he said. I've been impressed with his work ethic. I was impressed with him at Miami, where he just seems to have that mentality of he's not afraid. He is not afraid. He is not. It's not too big of a stage, and he's going to work hard.
They also have they have that rookie wide receiver from Stanford, that Elik Ayamanor, and then they also, I think they signed, who went undrafted. I think they brought in Xavier Restrepo too, from Miami, who's already got rapport with Ward.
Yeah, he's looked great.
Yeah.
All right, Rock, why don't you take us out?
So I'm going to take the AFC West division, and this is a division. Honestly, I think it's filled with pretty good quarterbacks. The worst one might surprise people because he's a name, but I'm going to start with my favorite, and that is Justin Herbert, or Justin Herbert for you Americans. I absolutely love this guy. To me, I try to rank my quarterbacks on a kind of a 2 scale, and then figured out where I met in the middle. And the scale is where do they rank in fantasy production, which is really what we care about for this show, independent of what is their actual skill level. To me, Justin Herbert is an S quarterback in skill. He is, to me, almost as good as Joe Burrows. Okay. He's almost as good as Lamar Jackson. He can run. He is a big-bodied, 6'6", 235-pound quarterback who can run. I love the touch he throws on the balls, on his passes, or on the balls. But for whatever reason, he's stuck in an offense that is not favorable for a passer. I am concerned about that. And what I'm concerned about is he started in 2020 with 22, almost 23 points, fantasy points per game. Then he upped it to 23. Those are tier 1 quarterbacks. But the last 3 seasons, he's been 17, 18, and 17 again. And I think we're going to see more of the same with Najee coming over. So on his potential, he's an S, but I think you've got to rate him as an A.
Come on, man. Have some conviction. Don't call him almost as good. He is as good skill-wise.
He is as good.
And then you said S, and then you want to break him down to an A.
Because he's on an offense that isn't favorable. We know that Harbaugh likes to run. He brought in Najee Harris to run. He's got good receivers, but I don't think he has great receivers.
Is he like an A-, or you're to put him like an A+?
It sounds like you're playing both sides.
I literally said he's an S in skill and a B in fantasy because of the coach that he plays for. Okay, and then met in the middle, and I gave him an A ranking because I think he is somebody who's going to have games where he is a 30-point quarterback.
You're leaving our viewers confused. I already know what the comments are going to say. They're going to say, hey, buddy, why don't you hike up your skirt and strap on some balls and really tell us what you feel about this guy?
I would take Justin before I would take Hurts. I would take Justin right after Lamar, Allen, and Joe Burrows. Okay, that's where I have him. Okay. But I would do it, and I would be scared to death because of the coach that he plays for.
So I'm going to tell you right now, you're giving great advice because this guy is my sleeper quarterback of the year. He is going so late in drafts right now. Yeah. And not only is his skill level an S.
He's awesome. And his hair is beautiful.
His production this year is going to be an S. His production will be an S. And he will be a league winner this year.
That is interesting. Wow. Why? I got to hear more.
Because he's got a fantastic coach in Harbaugh.
23-3 last year, under 4,000 yards. Under 17 points a game. Why?
Yeah, because he did not have dynamic playmakers around him. Keenan Allen left. They were still trying to figure out what they were doing. Quentin Johnson, they had to rely on as their wide receiver 1, who, and I wish they would run these numbers, how many definitive balls Quentin Johnson dropped that would have pushed yardage and touchdowns up. Quentin Johnson dropped 2 touchdown passes in 2 games last year.
I agree with you, but Quentin is still one of his wide receivers, and that's why it makes
But they
me
go
nervous.
out, they get Trey Harris. They brought another veteran
Mike
into town
Williams
too.
back
They
again.
brought Mike Williams back, who we already know had great rapport with Justin Herbert. They brought, oh my God, we just said it last week too. Who was the tight end? Tyler Conklin.
Yeah.
They bring in Tyler Conklin, and now Harbaugh goes and gets himself a couple of pass catching running backs too.
Well, I think if he's an S, and again, I think he has potential to be an S-rated quarterback. If he is, it is because he's throwing off to his backs and they're getting yards after catch. Because you call Harbaugh a great coach. I'll call him a coach who wins and does put his team in position to win.
So biased.
But he does it by running. Yeah. But he does it by running, and he handcuffed Air Bear last year.
He did.
Second, my second quarterback I'll talk about is a quarterback that is a mystery to me. People talk about Geno Smith like he's the second coming, but the reality is his best year ever. He averaged 18.5 points, fantasy points a game. His last 2 years, he was at 15 and 16, and I don't know what going to the Raiders will change that with. I think that Geno is an older quarterback. He came out in 2013. I think, to be honest with you, from a fantasy level, he's a D. From a skill level, he might be a B. He's balanced. And so I ended up overall, he's C. He's a competent, he's a very common quarterback.
He's doing though. Okay.
Yeah, he's a very common quarterback. I think he is somebody that you've missed on the quarterbacks you wanted, and you're stuck with a Geno Smith. And that's kind of where I have Geno Smith.
I agree with that. I mean, I do like Brock Bowers.
I do like Brock
Security
Bowers.
blanket, but 21 and 15 last year.
Yeah.
Under 16 points per game.
And that was
Yeah,
with
decent
DK and
weapons, yeah.
JSN.
Yeah. Yeah,
And I
and-
love Jacoby Myers too.
Yeah. No, Geno is a success story because somehow he has turned a couple subpar seasons into a very lucrative contract. God bless him.
Yeah.
But to me, he's a very average quarterback at
I
best.
agree.
So I can see him being a low mid for most of the year, but he'll have that amazing game, especially if he gets, Brock Bowers a bunch of passes, you get, 150 yards. Just
Well,
to
and they
hit him
got
most
Genti,
games.
and that's going to be interesting to see how they work him in.
That's true.
But I always say a
That
couple games
makes
a
me
year.
feel like he's going to be even worse with Genti there. And they're going to give him the ball plus 20 times a game.
No,
right?
easily.
Yeah.
So,
My third quarterback we'll talk about is Patrick Mahomes. This is a guy who's clear. I think all of us would say on a skill level he's an S. I don't know that I've seen a quarterback with as much guts, as much moxie, as much ability to have a big play when you need it as Patrick Mahomes. But if you look at his stats, started off super strong. He had several years where he averaged 26 or 25.7 fantasy points. His last 2 years, he's come back to earth. He's averaged about 18 both seasons. I don't know. Again, I don't think that's going to change this year. I think he might be slightly elevated, but I rated him overall as an A quarterback. He's an S in skill, but he's an A quarterback for fantasy production. And
I agree. We said this last season, going into the season, that pump the brakes on old Mahomes there. He hasn't finished higher than 8 since, I think, 3 seasons ago.
yeah, last year he was the ninth quarterback in touchdowns, 7th in yards, but actually threw more picks than people realized.
Yeah, he finished his QB, what was it? I'm trying to get it.
I thought it was like
QB
11.
12 outside the top 10 last season. Yeah.
The wild card here is old Tricky Dick there at the helm. I think Andy Reid. It depends on this guy. You have no idea what he's going to do. And now I don't know that he's ever had a wide receiver core that's as fast as the wide receiver core that they have in Kansas City right now. You have Rashee Rice coming back. You have Xavier Worthy, who was just an absolute scorcher down the field last year. You have Hollywood Brown coming back seemingly healthy as well. They pick up Jalen Royals, I believe, right, is his name, who can flat out fly. You have Isaiah Pacheco. They bring in the other running back from SMU, Brashard Smith, that I think that ran the quickest 40. Andy Reid's up to something. He is up to something. And then Travis Kelce is the ultimate security blanket and the ultimate red zone threat.
Well, and
this
I think
could be a very potent offense this year.
I think the tight end that's behind Kelce, and I'm blanking on his name, Noah Gray. He's a solid tight end too. You can't say anything about Patrick Mahomes. The guy is a winner. Like as much as you hate it, he might be a whiner. He might get every call, but at the end of the game, is there a quarterback you want more? I don't know.
Might have an annoying family that should probably stay off social
has
media.
An annoying family, yeah. And then the last quarterback I'll talk about is one of my favorites. I was real high in him coming out of college, and that's Bo Nix. Bo Nix actually finished 6th overall in touchdown throws for quarterbacks. He tied for 99th in interceptions, so he didn't throw a lot of picks, and 12th for yardage. He also ran for 430 yards and 4 touchdowns. This guy actually produced in a fantasy, very well in a fantasy, averaged almost 20 points a game. My fear with him is, again, I think there's not a big book on him. And there were a couple games, like his games against KC, he actually had 6 touchdowns, no interceptions, and almost 600 yards. So he did shine. But if you look at as the season progressed and people started playing him for a second time or started seeing more of a book, he actually had his 2 worst games, the last 2 games of the season, against Pittsburgh and against Seattle. Pittsburgh especially was troubling because they stocked the line, they rushed him hard, and he seemed a little bit uneasy. But I would say overall, I still think he's a B quarterback. I think he might have the potential, the skill to be an A, but I fear a C.J. Stroud second
regression.
Season. Yeah. And so I just think, like, for me, fantasy production, I mean, I would be okay if I took him somewhere as like the 10th quarterback off the board, but I'm not jumping the gun and trying to take him in the top 8.
I will say he was probably the biggest surprise at quarterback, let alone rookie quarterbacks last year. And I mean, he's still only 33 years old. So I mean, he's still got something left in the tank.
He may be older than Geno Smith
after his 9 years of college ball. But
25.
but I think truly he was the quintessential dual threat quarterback last year. And what I loved about him is that if you watch his film, he wasn't necessarily the run first quarterback, or he wasn't the getting scared in the pocket and then running. It was truly everybody was covered. He was going through his progression. Things broke down. He got out of Dodge.
Well, I think that's what 6 years in college
teaches you.
Yeah, which I think is the hope, the reason why the Browns drafted Dylan Gabriel was, my God, he played the most college games ever. Bo Nix, right. He wasn't, he wasn't flustered. He worked through his progressions, and when he had to run, he ran. And when he did, he looked really good running.
All right, can I push back just a little bit?
Sure, yeah.
He finished as QB7. I don't know that C.J. Stroud had a Sean Payton at the helm,
no,
number 1.
That's fair.
Number 2, you said he had his worst 2 games towards the end of the season. Which games are we talking about?
He said Pittsburgh
and Seattle. 246 yards against Pittsburgh with no touchdowns, 2 interceptions, 138 yards versus Seattle with 0 touchdowns, 2 interceptions. Unless I'm reading it wrong, but I don't think I am.
You finished at Pittsburgh and Seattle? Am I looking at the right thing?
Yeah, Bo Nix. 9-16 and 9. Oh, wait.
Oh, yeah, that's
no.
September, buddy.
Yeah,
because he finished. He finished with 21 fantasy points.
That changes. You're right, Phil.
At the Chargers.
Now, this is a good catch.
Then 21.9.
I take it back.
Bengals.
Yeah.
Then 33 and a half.
You want to start from the top?
Where was the almost 600-yard game?
No,
I think he was adding.
That's
them
happened to
together.
me before.
You were adding the Chiefs games together, right?
Yeah, yes.
Oh, all right.
I'm saying the 2.
No, but said it at first, I'm like 600.
But honestly, Phil, that's a great catch because I did invert the schedule. So he actually finished strong. But
so now he's an S.
Almost 80.
Now he's an A. I changed my mind. He's an A.
Almost 80 fantasy points his last 3 games. He went. Let me see. He went 9 touchdowns to 1 interception those last 3 games. So I'd say things are trending upwards. And I like Bo Nix. I think he's the best fantasy quarterback in the division.
And trending upwards, I have found myself lately, as we know, I do a lot of best ball drafts. Lately, I am all over Courtland Sutton because of his value. I am getting him oftentimes as my wide receiver 4. If I go 2 running backs, 2 wide receivers early. I'm getting him as my wide receiver 3, but as my 5th pick. He's falling down the board. I don't know why. I think Cortland Sutton is going to have his best year as a pro this year.
I think it's because, like, when you watch him, he doesn't impress you with anything. His game's not based on speed. It's based on size and his running ability.
He reminds me of 2 guys. Alshon Jeffrey, Plaxico Burress.
Yeah.
2 guys that come to mind right
well,
away.
and
He's
a little
definitely
bit
an Alshon
like a Cooper, where he's a route-based. Like, he separates by running superior routes and having strength. And last couple seasons, he's been a double-digit touchdown guy. Like, there's a lot to like with Cortland.
I think even so, body structure-wise and game-wise, I think he is Josh Gordon. He's Josh Gordon without the drugs. He's drug-free Josh.
Not as fast, but yeah.
There's not much to Josh Gordon without the drugs. I mean, so.
And to your point about, go ahead.
Well,
You haven't said anything.
I'm a big believer.
And Josh Gordon?
No.
You think he's finally got his shit together?
I don't think he does. At all. He's still probably doing his stuff right now.
Still trying to come back, I'm sure.
He's probably parked behind some apartment in the hood.
He's probably still making money off the Browns.
here.
Yes.
Could have been. We did have some trouble back there earlier.
Yeah.
And so being a believer, I think with the rookie running back, what's nice is he's still going to be able to have as many passes as he wants to work in the rookie running back, because he's not going to come in and take over more than likely. So I don't think his attempts are going to go down much at all. Even though
I think he'll be better, because I think early in the year he won't suck as much.
And they have a decent schedule to play against too, as far as I remember.
Yeah. I mean, there's just a lot to like with Bo. I was a big proponent last year. I'm in 4 fantasy leagues. I have him on 3 of my teams. I mean, I tried to get him everywhere I could. I honestly did try to pair him. In fact, in the D-Gen League, I made a trade for Cortland Sutton. I think it's a good pick.
My only question mark with this team, honestly, and the reason why Sutton has just skyrocketed in my book is who's their wide receiver too? Is it Deshaun Val? Is it Marvin Mims? Is it Troy Franklin? Like we don't know. And I think because of that, I think it's going to be the Cortland Sutton show.
Last year, though, we did think he had potential. It just didn't show it. But
and that Devon Valley came out of absolutely nowhere, and he had a decent showing.
But I think that you may have hinted at who the wide receiver 2 might be, and it might be Evan Ingram. I think they made that trade for a reason. I think when Ingram is at his best, he runs tight end like a wide receiver. He's a big body.
He's not a great blocker.
No, he's not at all, but he's got speed and he runs a decent route.
And correct me if I'm wrong, Sean Payton's best years was Jimmy Graham. Is that not right?
Which there is some comparisons, Jimmy Graham.
Marquise Colston.
Yeah, so like
they were better as a team, but yeah, I get where you're going.
Colston, Sutton, they bring in the tight end that, Colston, Sutton, Graham, Ingram.
To put a bow on it with Mahomes, 3 years now, he's regressed in total yardage.
Yes.
Touchdowns.
Mahomes' best year.
I don't think he's getting worse. I think the way they're coaching that team is different. So
yeah, I mean, his best.
He was under 4,000 yards passing.
Well, I think the receiving
core we went back to Mahomes. You're saying?
Yeah, I'm just because we kind of just left it out
there.
No,
his best year was 2023.
That's why I think Fat Andy's cooking something up, man. I think Fat Andy noticed that, and that's the reason why they kept Hollywood in town.
Yeah,
they brought in
build his weapons, because they did disappear a little bit, especially once you get rid of the guy that they sent to Miami.
Tyreek
Hill.
Yeah, once he was gone, that hurt Mahomes quite a bit. So now that they're trying to rebuild, hey, he can throw deep. He's accurate all the time. If you do those slant routes and let the guy just go for yards, you go over the top for the deep. Yeah. I think, like you said, what they're building, it could be super dangerous with that type of quarterback.
I think it could be super dangerous, but I think if you look, they've also tried to shore up their running. I think the NFL is kind of switching back to more of a running league again. You know how it goes in waves, where we've had year after year of great quarterback play. It seems like a lot of teams are stocking up on the running backs to try to run too.
I mean, there was that talk of running backs not getting paid, then Saquon just broke out last year, so I think we might be jumping the gun a little bit on that. I don't know if the running back's completely back, but
I think
they drafted like they are.
Yeah,
they did.
I mean, it's trending that
more running backs taken in the first 3 rounds this year and now part of that was it was a very deep draft because Denver got R.J. Harvey, who you were super high on, and they got him in the 3rd round.
Something crazy.
Yeah, it was crazy.
And now I'm even higher on him, obviously.
Yeah. So,
all right, well, that's the show, guys. Hopefully you enjoyed. If you did, please like and subscribe. hit the notification bell so you get notified every time we put a new episode up. You can follow us on all your socials at GON Podcast. That's on TikTok, Instagram, we got to get on X. I keep forgetting about that. But you can listen to the show, Spotify, Apple Music, Guys on Draft, Guys on Sports. Those are the shows to search on Apple Music. If you're on Spotify, it's just Guys on Network, and both shows are there. So we appreciate the time. Check us out next week. We'll be going through the NFC and tiering the quarterbacks, and we'll continue with the positions and the divisions as we go through the offseason, leading right up to camp where we'll really get into the thick of things and get you guys ready for the season. We love you. Peace.